Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live Q&A session with the Written Word Media marketing team. A few weeks ago, we held our first ever session all about Facebook ads for authors, and we had so many great questions that we just had to come back to get through them all and just to have a chat again. It was really fun. So before we dive into it, let's just do a quick round of introductions. My name is Grant, and I'm a marketing manager here at Written Word Media. I'll also be the MC for today's Q&A. I'll hand it over to Mike.
Hey everyone, I am Mike Hargan. I'm the VP of Marketing for Written Word Media. I have been running Facebook and Instagram ads for over a decade now. So really enjoy getting the opportunity to talk about all this and answer your all's questions. And I will toss it to Clayton.
Hey everybody, I'm Clayton Noblet. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at Written Word Media. And yeah, like Grant and Mike were saying, we run a lot of Facebook and Instagram ads here. So we like to think we know what we're doing. So we're excited to share some of our expertise with you today. And I just want to say it's so fun to see everybody chiming in the comments with where they're from. We've got people from Europe, someone from India. For context, the Written Word Media team, we are all in North Carolina in the United States. So Grant, Mike, and I are all within 30 minutes or so of each other. We're all at our homes right now. But yeah, really cool to see everybody here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get started. If you do have any questions as we run through today's session, feel free to leave them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. So we have some that came in either from like the last session that were really good and we wanted to go through early. But yeah, leave the ones in there and we'll get to them if we can. But first one, which is what should I test first? Audiences or creative? This is a age-old question, right? And I think there's no real wrong answer here. I know I personally like to test creative first. What about you guys? Do you all have an opinion?
Yeah, it's good. It is a tough question because I don't think there's one right answer here. I think it comes down to if you've run ads before or not. If you have run ads before and you have a general idea of who you'll be targeting or you have good advice on your audience, then I think starting with that audience and then starting testing some creative is the way to go. If you're really not sure who you're going to be targeting with your ads, then I think moving on and testing the audiences to start might be more important, just because the audience does have a pretty big impact on the results. So I think if you're newer to ads, I might do the audience first and then do creative. But yeah, I don't think there's really a wrong answer here.
I agree with that. I think my lean would be to test creative first, because at the end of the day, creative is really going to be what makes or breaks your campaigns. And especially, I know we'll get into this in a few minutes, talking about the audience size you should target. But if you're starting with a more broad, a larger audience, test some creative, kind of figure out which ones are getting the best click-through rate, and then set a benchmark for your click-through rate, right? So, what I would say rule of thumb is any ads that have a less than 1% click-through rate are not performing well. You really want to be shooting for 2+% click-through rate. And until you can kind of get your creative to that 2+% click-through rate, you're not really ready to expand your ad spend. So that's why my recommendation is creative.
Yeah. And on that note, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I think, yeah, Mike, what you were saying, like about the creative being the thing that kind of at the end of the day make or breaks an ad, like I think that's totally true. I think with a lot of the ads that we run, we have audiences that we've built that we've targeted for a long time, and we tweak and make adjustments and try new things, but most of the focus is on the creative because that's kind of where the incremental gains are over time. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
exactly. Sure. And you could have the perfect audience, right? Perfect audience of readers for your books. But if your message, if your creative doesn't resonate with them, it's really for nothing, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and on that note, here's like a little example we've brought up here on a test we ran a little while ago where we were testing some different creative ideas, and it just shows that little tweaks can make a difference on like how you decide between these things, right? Like all these ads were for the same book, And we just have little variations here between like the copy. See the first one here, which ended up being the winner, had some different, more colorful, vibrant backgrounds, where the one in the middle had price call out. The one on the right had a more sort of like, it blended in with the cover, right? So we can see here that the one on the left had it was like over 10 cents cheaper per click, which is fantastic. Also at a higher click-through rate. Do you have any other opinions here on why, for example, the differences here could have impacted how a test ran?
Yeah, I think it's, it's hard to know why exactly things are different between ads. So, the exact elements are hard to pinpoint, but it is fun to talk about why an ad might be more appealing than another. I think, none of these have really fantastic click-through rates, but I think if you compare the one on the left to the one on the far right, the left-sided image just has so much more contrast, and that deep blue is really appealing. Whereas the one on the right, the cover, the book almost blends into the image, and I can't tell immediately that it's a book, really.
Right.
And so if I'm a reader looking for a book, that might not catch my eye and stop the scroll, as we say. So that's one reason I think that the contrast in the colors between the book and the background image.
Yeah, sure. I think it's the visual hook, right? Because for all ad creative, you have to have a hook, and you need to have either like an audible or text hook, or you need to have like a visual hook. And the contrast, I see Mila over here in the comments said, that blue contrast, I think that is striking, and that's what's causing readers to stop in their feed and say, ooh, this is, what is this? This is interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is just like a good example of, as we said, like this isn't the perfect sort of CPC or click through rate we kind of wanted for our ad. But when you see a major difference here, that's like, okay, I can work off this one and then make other tests either for the audience or for the creative. It just shows little things, even if you're not getting the result you want, if there's a noticeable improvement, you can run with it, which is fun.
It's all iterative. Got to start somewhere.
For sure. Similar note here is, can you share some examples of Reader Reach, which is our Written Word Media's service where we run Facebook ads for authors, Facebook ads that have seen the best results? So this was a great question. This lets us show. I'm going to bring up my examples here again. Just wanted to run through here some of the more effective ads we've had running in the last couple of weeks. We generally run with Reader Reach a couple of different creatives. We know that these two styles have always performed well for us, and this is what we sort of run with, where it's a 3D cover of the book with like an interesting background alongside a zoom image generally of your cover, so that bringing out some of the really great illustrations or photography or whatever that's on your front cover and bringing that to light. But you can see here, an 8-cent CPC, 10-cent CPC, and then like over 10% click-through rate, which are great. These are really great numbers. If you're seeing results like this, your ads are doing well, because it's like people are noticing it, people are clicking it, right? So that's an example here. We got a couple of others. This was one of the top performing ones in terms of the metrics on our side. A 6-cent CPC, which is, it means it's only 6 cents
crazy low. That's great.
Every person clicking on that ad, right? It's great, and that almost like over 15% click-through rate. That's another real great one. It shows you too they both had a similar CPC, but one had a better click-through rate. So you could be like, great, that one's doing better. The Zoom's doing better, right? And then another one for a romance title here. Once again, this was like a 9-cent CPC, 11-cent CPC, both are great. And then once again, over 10% click-through rate. So just showing some of the designs, some of the things that we run with our Reader Reach Facebook ads that can deliver strong results. Yeah.
I think a couple things to call out with these ads for everyone who's on the webinar, going back to just kind of the bright colors like that you can see on the left, it stops you. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say too is if you look at the bottom, like, so these are Facebook ads, right? You can see the engagement, like the hearts and the likes and everything.
Right.
I have always referred to that as like ad patina. And ad patina is a really great thing, right? Because one of the big kind of marketing concepts that we always go back to that's effective is social proof. And this ad patina is social proof. And one thing you can do in Meta Ads Manager is, say you have one audience and you're running this ad on the left, right? You get a lot of patina, you have a great click-through rate at almost 11%. What you can do is you can duplicate that ad and use it in another ad set to a different audience. And so you're not having to, remake that ad for every audience you run. You can duplicate it, use the same ad, and keep that ad patina, which is going to be helpful.
Yeah, it's just important that when you duplicate it, you don't edit the ad in any way. So the ad has to remain the same in order to keep the comments and the likes. But yeah, Mike, that's something we do all the time, because the comments and the likes and the positive responses to an ad, those are a really important element, and that's really, really appealing to readers, right? If an ad has a lot of likes and some comments, people view it as more, I guess, authentic or real, right? There's a lot of concern out there for like scams or things like that. But if there's real people commenting, people engaging with the ad, that's a really valuable asset for the ad. So duplicating that ad and using it in other audiences is a really great strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing I'll say there too is Facebook's algorithm does take into account with your ads the engagement on it. So the more engagement you have, the better. And the other thing I want to note is, particularly on Facebook, where users can comment on your ads, reply back to them. Like, moderate those comments. Don't just let, dozens of comments build up that you don't respond to. That's not great. So be sure to respond. It's only going to help you. And in the off chance, but it does happen, you get, some negative comments that don't meet Facebook's or Meta's guidelines, you can hide them. Obviously, if it's one that you can rebuttal, then you should rebuttal it before hiding it, but that is an option too.
Yeah. There was a good comment here when looking at these images going, hard to decide from these results whether to show the book as a book cover or simply an image. The click-through rate is greater on a non-book cover ad, but do they convert as well? Some people simply clicking on a nice image and not realizing it's a book. I think this is a good question. We find, like, as I said, both of these designs work really well. So we'll always sort of have both as creatives in an ad set. So I think it's always good to have a couple of different designs, especially when maybe if you're only using one or two different audiences, because it can be really mixed at which one does perform better, which one gets more clear. And I think a lot of that can come down to what your book cover looks like. If it's very vague, where like maybe you don't know if it's a book, right? Like it might be kind of like, well, this looks interesting. You might have to put a bit more messaging in your copy to say, hey, this is a book. Or like if your book if the page you're running the ads through is very clearly a book site, like for example, if we have an ad running from Bargain Book C or Free Book C, it's a lot easier for the Facebook user to know that it's a book, right? But it might not always be for that in that case. But I think just sort of, having a couple of designs like this, you really can tell, and it can change book to book, right?
Yeah, the context of an ad is really important, and it's kind of an easy thing to lose sight of when you're running ads.
Yeah.
And so, what you're doing. You know that you have a book, and this is how your book is and what genre it is. But someone seeing your ad has never heard of your book before.
Yeah.
And so you really have to make sure that they have all the context they need to make the decision you want them to make. So if you have an image that it's not clear that it's a book cover just by looking at the image, it's a great idea to make it clear in the copy or some other way that this is a book, and that's why people should click on it. And I think that's pretty easy to do, but it's important to keep in mind the context of an ad and how people are viewing it when they come to it.
Yeah, great point. Another great one here. What determines the cost per result? What influences that number? Let's take this one.
Yeah, so cost per result is really it is the objective you're telling Meta you want to accomplish with your ad. So it could be clicks or traffic to a landing page. If you have a website, you're selling direct, it could be conversions, it could be orders of your books. Excuse me. What determines cost per result? So all that is cost per 1,000 impressions divided by the number of actions or conversions per that 1,000 impressions. And so really the goal here is you want your cost per result to be as low as possible, because it means you're getting the most effective results for your ad spend that you're capable of getting. And so it's always good to kind of go into this with a rough estimate of what you're looking for, right? You know, if you're selling a book for $1.99, you know, you probably don't want your cost per result to be $25, right? You're going to want it lower than that. You know, then you can get into the math of, okay, you know, sell through, or, you know, first in series, and what's the subsequent sales and stuff, and go off like an average, like a lifetime value of a reader. But still, you want to be mindful of what your goal is, and if you're getting close to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the result can be a few different things. It depends on the objective of your campaign, right? So if you are running ads to your Amazon book page, you don't have conversion tracking on Facebook, right? So Facebook doesn't know if someone who clicks on the ad bought the book. And so the result there is going to be a click. You're just looking for clicks on your ad. So the cost per result is really going to be your cost per click, or CPC. Yeah. If you're running direct sales on your website and you're able to tell Facebook when someone has purchased a book from you, then the result is probably going to be the conversion, the sale of the book. Yeah. And so the cost per result varies by the campaign.
For sure. Awesome.
Oh, and then another kind of a frustrating thing that I think is good to point out is the macro environment can impact kind of general costs on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for example, the couple weeks before Christmas, Facebook meta ads tend to get pretty expensive because all these companies are advertising to everybody who's looking for that last minute Christmas gift. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people that run ads all year will kind of reduce budgets in those weeks before Christmas, because they know that it's going to be much more competitive on Facebook because so many other companies are spending a lot. And then, you know, we're seeing in January that, you know, a lot of our CPCs are really low. And so maybe there's less competition. Maybe a lot of people blew their budgets in Q4 and are waiting for Q4 to come around again. But the macro environment can really impact how expensive ads are. And so if you see all of your CPCs go up, all of your cost per results go up, it might not be you. Of course, you need to adjust and try to improve things. But sometimes the macro environment does really impact how your ads perform.
Yeah, and I think it's also if you were running tests in some of these periods and you notice bad results, if you look back and you're like, oh wait, I did run that over like Christmas week, or you know, there was a big, you know, Black Friday or something like that. Maybe revisit it, see what you get this time around. Like timing can be a big factor as well, right?
True.
That's a great point, Clayton. Not to mention the upcoming U.S. election.
Right, for sure.
That changes competition.
Yeah, definitely.
On Meta.
It definitely does. Let me find the right question. Here we go. There was a good one from Jennifer. So is it important to have a certain number of followers on your Facebook author page before running ads? Anecdotal insights as well as algorithm specific welcomed. What's this one?
Ooh, that's a really good
question. See, it's not necessary, right? Like you can have a page like no followers and you can create ads, but like I think there is some train of thought that it's like if you have a page that's very well received, you have a lot of likes, I think that gives I think anecdotally, I think like it gives your reputation of your page a higher level. There's probably less chances of your page sort of breaking rules or anything like that when it comes to Facebook policy. But I think this is a good question. So I think like, no, you don't, but I think it doesn't hurt, right?
It doesn't hurt. And I mean, what you have to think about too is you're likely not using meta ads to drive people to your author Facebook page, right? I mean, you could, but you're likely sending them to your book on Amazon, right? Or to your author website. Mm-hmm. So it's not really going to be inhibitive from that standpoint. And the other thing I would say about this is you can also retarget people too. So if you do have followers or fans of your author page on Facebook, you can retarget them too, with ads.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a good strategy there too. If your Facebook page or Instagram page has a lot more followers than you have on your email list, if those people are following you on a social network, that means they're interested in you. So you could try running an ad to get them to join your email list and kind of level up their connection with you. So that's just an idea there with those people that already are aware of you and maybe have read one of your books but aren't on your email list yet.
Yeah. And this leads into a question we had submitted ahead of time where it's like, why is my ad not showing on my Facebook page? This is a good one because it's like your Facebook page is kind of the host for this ad, but it's not, your ads aren't going up as a post on your page, right? So if you make an ad, this isn't going to appear on your feed. It's not going to just organically show to your followers on Facebook, right? And so I think we get a lot of questions around this with when we run ads on ReaderItch too, is like, why can't I see the ad? And it's like, well, yeah, the ad only appears to the audience that you select, right? So the advertiser selects to run the book, so that's where it's going to show. It's going to show there. But do you all have other sort of tips here on how do you see ads if they are running? I think there's
a tip.
There is a little tip, right? Yeah.
Yes. Tip, hack, insider knowledge, what have you. I would recommend everyone Google Facebook Ads Library. Facebook Ads Library. And basically what this is you can see all the current ads that brands as well as other authors are running. So if you're looking for some creative inspiration, or if you're looking another author is running, what kind of ads they're running, or are they running deals or anything like that, you can see all the ads they're currently running. So Facebook Ads Library, I've used this for years. It's a great little hack, and it's worth checking out.
Yeah, and you can view a page's ads library by going to the Facebook page, and then I think it's down on the left. It might have changed, but there's something like transparency down there, and then the ad library is available. And like Mike was saying, this is such a great resource, especially when you're just getting started and you're kind of wondering, okay, well, what do I do? Find another author who's big time and pretty sure they're running ads and they're doing well in the same genre as you. Go to their ad library and see what they're running. And use that as inspiration. I think that's such a great way to get started with some solid creative off the bat.
Yeah. Colette has a quick one here, and I can address this one. On the book covers you showed, I didn't see the links for the click-through. Let me bring it back up for you. So you can see down the bottom here, below the creative image, there's like a learn more button. That's where like people will click to go through the book. It's also like if they click the image as well, they can also go through to the source. So you don't need kind of like a visible link like you would on, like, say you're sharing a post or something like that on Facebook. You would often have the link. It's very clearly, like www.amazon.com. And here, the good thing about ads is you can have the link kind of embedded into the creative, and then in the buttons, the button you can also change to if you want it to be like buy now, book now, like, there's all different options you have, which is great.
Yeah.
Cool. Great question. All right, so we've got some more here. We've got, this is a good one, and I think Mike's excited about this one. What audience size should be the minimum, and also on the other side, is there too large of an audience?
Yeah, so let me cut to the chase first. So I would say if you're looking at going after a cold audience, meaning new readers who you're not retargeting them, right? They're not following your page or anything like that. I would aim for 8 to 12 million is good. That's a lot. But also, I said this in the first webinar, the Facebook algorithm is really good, just like TikTok's is. So you're better off giving it a larger audience and letting the algorithm kind of optimize and figure out who within that group is most likely to click your ad and perform your optimization event. That would be my recommendation. That's changed from 5 or 6 years ago. It used to be try to go as targeted as possible, right? It used to be we would shoot for like audience sizes of 800,000 to 1.5 million. Now it's 8 to 12 million. That would be my recommendation.
Great.
Yeah. Go broad. Let the algorithm do the work for you. And yeah, until that changes. But right now, it's going really well. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, awesome. When do you recommend a daily budget versus a lifetime budget? This is a great one. And it's different cases, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think basically the differences between these two is the daily budget is a budget based on each day the campaign is running. So if you set a $5 daily budget, Facebook is going to spend between $4 and $6 each day, and over the course of the week, try to even it out to $5 a day. If you set a lifetime budget and say you set it to $25, Facebook could spend the entire $25 in the first hour that the ads are live if it thinks the ads are performing well. So a lifetime budget really lets Facebook strike when the iron is hot. But you do have to have some trust that they're doing that correctly. So for a lot of authors, especially people starting out with ads, and you want to have consistent performance over time and get an idea of how your ads are performing and test and iterate. I think daily is probably what I would recommend on default. If you are running like a limited time sale, or you have a new release where it's time sensitive, I think it could be interesting to try a lifetime budget and then see if Facebook kind of catches a vein and spends a lot of budget when it finds an audience that's open to the book. But yeah, by default, I would recommend a daily budget personally.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, daily, especially if you're tweaking and your ad creative isn't time sensitive. At Written Word, the only meta campaigns we run that have lifetime budgets are for our subscriber surge giveaways, which have finite start and end dates. It wouldn't make sense for our ads for those to run after the giveaway has ended because no one can sign up anymore. But just for regular ads, I would stick to daily budgets because they're also easier to scale too.
Right, definitely. We've talked a lot about different metrics, so this question is very useful for this. There's a large number of option columns on the results page in Facebook Meta Ads Manager. What sets of data would you use to help determine if an ad set is being successful? Great question. I think fine-tuning this is very important, because otherwise you get very overwhelmed. You don't know what half of these metrics are for and if they're relevant,
data
right?
overload.
Yeah. Do you all have let's say we need to cut this down, you want to see them all on the one page. What would you recommend to be the key select metrics to filter by?
I would say to start, click-through rate you want to have. That's very important because that shows you how effective your creative is with the audience you're targeting. I would also recommend, if you are doing direct sales and have the meta pixels set up on your site to track revenue from referred orders, I would add ROAS, it's an acronym, ROAS, return on ad spend. That's basically the return on your investment. So you want to make sure that that's 1 or above, because it means you're at least making in revenue what you're spending on the ads. But again, that's just if you're doing direct sales. The other things I would recommend would be on the ads tab in Meta Ads Manager, look at quality, engagement, and conversion ranking. So what these are, this compares your creative to other ads targeting the same audience as you. So it's really a benchmark of the other people targeting these romance readers, right? How does my click through and engagement compare to theirs? and you really want to have these at above average.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're optimizing, you should be above average across the board. If you're average or below average, you're going to need to do some more tweaking and optimization. But those are really the main ones I would say to make sure you have in your column table.
Yeah, for sure. Great recommendation. All right, I think we've got time for one more. I found two. I've got two here that we can talk about at the same time.
We can do
there's
two.
one here. There's one here from Steve that's what do you suggest for ad placements? Just the Facebook feed or others? And then alongside this, there's one from right down here. Do you recommend setting your target audience or let Facebook automate it? I think these we can sort of discuss these in the same vein here. There are options for letting Facebook's Advantage Plus, take control of these, right? And I know personally, I feel like setting the audience yourself is important to make sure you're finding the right things, and then using a good way to take advantage of the automation is to use Facebook's Advantage Plus for the placement. That way it can find the right placement recommendations for the audience that you've selected. I don't know, Michael, Clayton, do you have other recommendations here around the automation options that Facebook has?
Yeah, I think layering in the Advantage Plus targeting on top of an audience that you've selected, it is a good idea. Like we were saying, the algorithm is really good these days. So what you can do is when you're choosing your audience, say you're targeting people that have an interest in ebooks and fantasy as a genre, there'll be a little checkbox that says expand to use Advantage Plus targeting. And that's Facebook saying, hey, can we expand this to people that might not meet this exact criteria, but we think will do well for this group that you're trying to target. They have other things in common that make them a good addition to the audience. And I would certainly test that out personally. I think we've seen some success with that. And yeah, like we've been saying this whole webinar, the algorithm right now is working really well. So yeah, let it work for you.
Yeah.
In terms of placement, I would say it's probably fine to use Advantage Plus placements and let Meta decide where your ad should go. The caveat to this, I would say, is if you're doing and you're successful with short form video, so meaning short form video like what you see on Instagram Reels or like TikTok format videos, right? That might be the time when you want to isolate your placements and maybe just look at Instagram Reels, Instagram Stories, Facebook like feed, and maybe Instagram feed, maybe keep it at those four, and not do any of like sidebars or anything like that. But if you are doing just static images or just like slight motion graphics, not actual filmed short form like user generated content videos, you're okay using Advantage Plus placements.
Yeah.
And it is easy when you're making the ad to look at the preview, and it'll show you a preview of all the placements that you have selected. And so you can look at all the different ways your ad will appear. And if the ad is not looking good in one of those placements, you can either edit it and kind of change the dimensions, generally is what you would do for that. Or you can turn off that placement. And sometimes Meta will just turn off a placement for you because they say, hey, your ad is going to look terrible in the sidebar because it's a vertical video. So we're not even going to do that. Like you're not, that's not happening.
Yeah. Well, they'll give you lots of pop-ups that say this is not optimized, or this is not like, it doesn't like,
yes.
It tells you if it doesn't like it. Yeah.
And it
will do your due diligence there.
Yes, certainly. Because they will offer to crop the ad into the correct placement. But sometimes that will crop critical pieces of information out of the image. Yeah. So you do have to be a little careful there. But thankfully, it is pretty obvious when you're looking at the previews what is a good looking ad and what is not.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks so much, Clayton and Mike. This has been once again a great chat. I think that's. Once again, there was lots of great questions. I think there's always something to talk about when it comes to Facebook ads, right? If you would like to learn more about running ads on Facebook, we do have a whole bunch of resources available on our website at writtenwordmedia.com. We'll show them in the comments below. If you'd rather someone else run your Facebook ads, our Reader Reach ad service is the perfect option. We'll also share a link for this in the comments below, so you can learn more about our ad management service. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join us for this live Q&A, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.